Welcome, everybody, back to the GSMC Chip Shot Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, as always, Manny Maradiege, here on Friday, February the 7th, the last weekday until the big game. It almost feels like it's Christmas Eve, the way I'm excited for this game, with obviously the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. A lot has been said. There's not much more you can delve into other than, just watching the game already, it feels like. But on today's schedule, we got some more Super Bowl talk. We're going to preview the Super Bowl for the final time here and go into all the details around the game. We're going to recap the NFL honors from last night and some interesting talking points from the awards, along with a couple more things on today's show. So make sure to stick around for all of it. And before we get started, a opportunity for you guys. If you guys want to get involved with the show with any questions, comments, or any opinions you'd like to share on the air, please don't hesitate to do so. Let your voice be heard, and any insights or just thoughts that you have running across your head are always well appreciated and well received, right? And if you want to make it absolutely sure that your message stands out and not only is seen by me but gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that just by using the Super Chat feature. The Super Chat feature allows you to be part of the show. Just click the $ at the bottom of the chat box to send in your Super Chat. In this way, it guarantees that I'm able to see your message, I'll read it out loud, and get your guys' feeling or perspective on anything that we're talking about on any of the live shows, right? So again, let us know what you're thinking. Hit the Super Chat button, and let's keep this show as interactive and as exciting as possible. We want to know what you guys are thinking. We want to know what's on your mind, so please don't hesitate, again, to let it be known, and we can have a discussion that way, get a different perspective or point of view on whatever we're talking about during these shows. So, with that, your first opportunity to do that is with the NFL honors last night, right? There was the annual award show for the NFL, and we had, a few talking points from the awards and, who got them at the end of the night. And the most talk, right, is surrounding the MVP, and we're going to get to that. But the other winners, Offensive Player of the Year went to Saquon, Defensive Player of the Year to Pat Surtain, Offensive Rookie of the Year to Jaden Daniels, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jared Verse, Comeback Player of the Year, Joe Burrow, Coach of the Year, Kevin O'Connell, and then Eric Armstead got the big honor of winning the Walter Payton Man of the Year. So that was awesome to see. Very much deserved for all the winners. But there was some talking points you could definitely take away from a few of these awards. A couple of them were pretty self-explanatory, but we're gonna go through them and just give our thoughts on them. So first off, we're gonna save the MVP till the last one because that's has the most to talk about. But the Offensive Player of the Year, an absolutely stacked group here, and insane seasons from Lamar and Joe, obviously. Derrick Henry, a quiet, almost 2,000 yards, just like it was nothing. Jamar Chase winning the Triple Crown. And, yeah, Saquon won this award. Very well deserved, right? Because he should have broke the rushing record, but he was rested the last game. So regardless of that, he had a lot of big moments, a lot of big runs, and just MVP type of moments in this season. So giving him the Offensive Player of the Year, I'm not really too upset about, but I thought it was a little ridiculous how Jamar Chase didn't get a single first place vote from anybody. Like, I know he might not have won, but the guy got the Triple Crown this season. So only 4 or 5 other people ever did that in NFL history. So for people to just kind of brush that off like it was nothing is a bit, I don't know, short-sighted, I would say. Again, even if he wasn't going to win, no first place votes for Jamar is kind of insane to me. So, that was that. Joe, hard to win it with a losing record. Derek, I don't know. I feel like nobody really talked about him that much. And Lamar, he was up for MVP, and he had a great season, but I don't know. I'd always felt like he was just a shoo-in for MVP and only really that award for consideration. Because, if you're going to give a quarterback this award too, it almost feels like it's too much, right? You got to give somebody else an award too, not just the quarterback. So this one was always going to go to someone else, and I was glad it was Saquon. Defensive Player of the Year, I was very happy that it was Pat Surtain because it usually just goes to a pass rusher, and none of them really had like an amazing, historical season or anything like that. Trey Hendrickson had a career year. That was cool to see. Myles Garrett did his thing. TJ did his thing. Zach Bond would have been an exciting pick, just because he kind of came out of nowhere, and he's only on a one-year deal with Philly. So if he got it after winning or after earning first-team All-Pro, would have been pretty cool, but maybe a bit of a stretch. So, Pat Surtain to win it, he becomes only the second defensive back to win it since 2009. The last one to do it was Stephon Gilmore in 2019, although it should have been TJ Watt, but, it is what it is. And, yeah, DBs should get more consideration, I feel like, because they don't really get the numbers because nobody really throws at them if they're doing a fantastic job like Pat Surtain did this year. But it's nice to see the recognition, and it was well-deserved, again, for a still pretty young guy making a big name for himself already, probably the best corner in the game as of today. So moving on from that, I think the most obvious award of the night was Offensive Rookie of the Year. Obviously was going to go to Jaden Daniels. He got 49 of the 50 first place votes. And yes, this award was very much deserved for him, but also, to have 3 LSU guys up there was pretty cool. LSU, a lot of dominance from LSU recently, right? Malik, Brian Thomas was awesome. Now Jaden, obviously Joe, Jamar, and Justin all doing their thing. So that was kind of cool to see up there with 3 LSU guys up there. But yeah, Offensive Rookie of the Year was always going to go to Jaden. Then Defensive Rookie of the Year went to Jared Verse, first Rams Defensive Rookie of the Year since Aaron Donald in 2014. Not bad company to be in at all. And there was a little bit of a dip in performance halfway through the season where I thought maybe Quinyon Mitchell could make a run at it, but, Jared Verse ended up getting 37 of the first place votes, and Quinyon only got 7. So I think still, despite all of that, Jared made a good case for himself, and he's part of a very exciting young defensive line group over there. And he's already one of the more notable names, so that's great for the Rams overall. Comeback Player of the Year, again, out of all of them, some solid nominees, but with the kind of season that Joe had, he wasn't going to win Offensive Player of the Year, definitely wasn't going to win MVP. So if he was nominated for anything else, based on the numbers and how valuable he was to his team, he was obviously going to win this award. And lastly, Coach of the Year, I thought it was fair to go to Kevin O'Connell. Dan Campbell made a good, run at it. And Dan Quinn also, I thought, I kind of forgot about Dan Quinn, but I thought Dan Quinn would have been a very, very well-deserved, winner of this award. But I'm not upset by Kevin O'Connell, especially with the kind of season that he had, and nobody expected them to be in contention for the number 1 seed with Sam Darnold as the quarterback, and he had a large part in getting Sam to perform the way he did. So a lot of credit goes to him. A lot of credit goes to him in building this team as well. So Coach of the Year, another well-deserved winner there. But of course, we got the MVP we got to get to, and it was all about Lamar and Josh. And, during the ceremony, I came to a point where I realized, like Lamar's actually not there. I haven't seen Lamar all night, and then at that moment, it instantly clicked, like, Josh is going to win. Josh is going to win because if Lamar was going to win, at least both of them would be there. So at that point, I knew that it was going to be Josh, because leading up to it, there was a lot of people saying that it was going to be Lamar. He got the first team All-Pro, and usually that gives an indication that he is also going to win the MVP. But, I thought Josh performed well enough to win the MVP as well. And then the final votes came out after Josh was named the winner, and it was very close at 383 to 362 in favor of Josh. And it's the first time since 2003 that a quarterback on the second team All-Pro team won the MVP in the same season. The last guy to do it was Steve McNair. And again, if I was voting, I probably would have went for Josh. And is there voter fatigue? Yes, definitely. And I'm sure that played a big role in some people, voting Lamar for first team All Pro, then switching over to Josh for MVP. I'm sure that existed, and I probably have some of that as well. But it's not like it was like Lamar put on an A plus performance and Josh put like a C plus performance all year. These guys were very much like A performance, or A minus to A minus. They were both very much up there. And I do understand the point of one getting first team All Pro doesn't make sense for the other one to get MVP. I understand that, but I'm not too bothered by it, quite honestly, because I think it just highlights how many great quarterbacks we have nowadays, right? And I don't think it's a bad thing, or I don't really look at it as kind of giving everybody a participation medal when everybody's deserving of it, right? It's not like we have this huge difference, right? We have a huge difference from Patrick to everybody else, but Josh, Lamar, Joe, all those guys are pretty much the same. And if if Joe had better numbers, a lot of people probably would have wanted him to win, right? If he made the playoffs and they were in contention for something, Joe would be right up there because he led everything stats-wise for quarterbacks. So, you can sway it whatever way you want. It's a very subjective award, right? It depends on the narrative, and if you really go by the definition, how do you evaluate the value of most valuable player, right? You look at Josh and the expectations that he had coming in, and him not really having like any other Hall of Fame players around him, where Lamar had Derrick Henry come in, right? So that could sway you one way, or you could look at it the same way with Joe. If he had a better record, but he's got guys like Jamar and T. Higgins who are better weapons than what Josh is working with, right? So all those things play a part in it. Again, I'm not too bothered by it, and some people would make the argument too, as my last point, that MVP should just always go to the best player, right? That's what MVP means, not value to the team, but just the best player. But to that point, if that was the case, then Patrick should get it every year, right? Then there's really no need for people to vote on it. If it just goes to the best player, if it just goes to the player with the best stats, you don't need people to vote on it, because they could just look at the numbers and say, all right, then it's this guy, right? So, you could sway it a million different ways. Again, Lamar and Josh, very deserving of it. I'm not too bothered by it, and I like the fact that Josh won. I think the expectations going into this season to exceed them and to also develop and get to a spot where you were that close to beating Patrick. I'm not, awarding him for an almost victory, but I think the maturity we saw from Josh all throughout the season, and having those MVP kind of moments, against the Lions or the Rams and the 49ers, especially with those cool plays that he made, all of that, you can make a solid argument for all of them. So Josh, very well deserving of the award. And yeah, I'm sure it'll be a very close competition next season as well. These quarterbacks aren't going anywhere, so don't get too annoyed by having the same names up there each and every year. This is only just beginning, I feel like. So those were all the awards, my thoughts on them, and let me know what you guys think of them as well in the comments section. But now we're going to preview the Super Bowl. Finally, after all these days, we're going to get into the information around the game, my predictions, and some key matchups that we're going to look at for the big game coming up on Sunday.